Hi, everyone. Welcome to this transmission. As always, I'm just checking that it is being shared in all my platforms because we want this information to reach as many people as possible. Why? Well, of course, all the information that I share is with the purpose of bringing awareness on topics that, due to my memories, my path of remembrance, and also research that I have been doing to sustain through solid rock basis in regarding to quantum physics, this information that I am sharing, so that it can nourish you as much as it nourishes me and the people around me. And I was talking about this. It was uh, one of the main topics that I talked about in the Rise of the Guardians conference this last um, weekend in Sedona. And I will be doing a video just on that along with Sean. I just want to say before beginning, thank you very much for all the resonance in each one of you, not only the attendees yet, and also the people that was tuned into what we were posting and sharing, and that soon you will be capable to access to the recording of all the presentations of these amazing presenters in the conference, and that feel very humble and very pleased to have been there, um, sharing all this information. And this is just the beginning. We are entering a new stage of evolution in which unity is not anymore about spread and thinness all over the world, yet unifying those thinness in very specific places. So this is just the beginning of very huge things. So thank you for being part of it, physically, non-physically. And yeah, just if you have any comment, any question, just please feel free to write it in YouTube, which is mainly the one that appears here. I can already see two comments. Hi, Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot. Hi, James. Thank you for being here. And well, I will be sharing some slides, which actually I showed in my presentation. I will be doing some clips, like really short clips, so that you know more about what I'm sharing. I know that some of the names like GIT, genetic interdimensional travel, could be a little bit confusive. However, when you see the core of it, you see that it's actually very simple and that it makes a lot of sense. So I will be sharing not only about this, about other things in very short lives, so that you nourish and feel and tune into more this information. And I hope that you find resonance in it. Okay, so I will start. The title of this, as I was saying, is Genetic Interdimensional Travel, GIT. I've named it that way, which is mainly DNA and interdimensional travel, you know? So, what is this? Um, when we think of our DNA, we think about all these threads intertwined, creating two-stranded DNA and swirling all over our body like lines, you know. And actually, it's not like that. Actually, within our DNA, there are created circles and other very complex patterns like knots uh, created by the RNA, which is actually what creates the magic of remembrance, of activating our dormant DNA. So, if you want the golden nuggets of our DNA, it is quite connected to the RNA. I started talking about this a while ago, like more than 7 years ago, about the junk DNA, that it wasn't truly junk DNA, that there was huge things stored there. And fortunately, now a lot emerged through the quantum physics and also through genetics and so forth, of course, like recognizing that the junk DNA, it's actually nothing junk, even though they have already given, like acknowledged that it's not junk at all. There are a lot of gaps still going on because they still address to it as something very complex that actually, due to all those 4D patterns that it makes, it can create really a problem in our genetic construction. That's the truth. Actually, through those knots that I will be perhaps showing to you in another video, because today I will be addressing to something else. But due to those complex knots for the constructions, as I was saying, is that our dormant DNA activates. And our dormant DNA, as we know, is related to our galactic DNA, the one that that actually awakens that luminous DNA within us. So, having said this, now in relation to time, how is this connected? Well, imagine that, as I was saying, all these complex patterns within our DNA, it's not like the string theory, you know? It is, well, I won't go through that way because the string theory also talks about circles and so forth. But what I mean is, like, our DNA, it's not just lines intertwined, it creates also other complex patterns. The same as the space-time fabric or the space memory network. All of our DNA is mirroring to the space memory network. If we travel through the space memory network, we will find a lot of symmetry, a lot of correlation going on with one another. So now if we think at from a holographic perception, we will see that what we shift in our DNA, we are shifting it in the space-time fabric or in the space memory network. And what we shift within the space memory network, we are shifting it within our DNA. And it can move back and forward, you know? So for instance, related to epigenetics, if you are shifting, like deactivating some genes that were creating dissonance and limitations within your DNA and activating another ones, is deactivating and activating the timelines or spatiotemporal constants that are intertwined to your core timeline. What does this mean? When I say core timeline, imagine the trunk, the tree trunk, and you have all these branches. So it's not like there is just one timeline, one core timeline, and that's it. That's what it comes about. No, what it means is that through every branch that we are interconnecting, activating and deactivating, the structure of our tree trunk is evolving in resonance. In resonance to what? In resonance to the true time. What's the true time? The true time is that which is aligned to the beat of our heart, to the core of our epicenter. Meaning by this, our heart flows at the rhythm of our reality. If we're accelerated, our heartbeat will be very accelerated. Based on our perception is that our heart responds. Based on our memories, the perception that we have on our memories and so forth, emotions, thoughts. So what happens with the artificial matrix or the harvesting control system of time? Well, as I always say and set the example of the dance floor, imagine that your DNA is going at a specific harmonious rhythm, and you have the reality with the Gregorian calendar that is messing it big time, big time. And what you're doing organically, like this beautiful Sufi dance, like the Vriche dance, swirling or techno or salsa or whatever you feel like, there is this arrhythmia that is constantly trying to push you away from the dance floor. And as much as you do to activate your DNA, to change your patterns of behavior, to transcend specific thoughts, forms of perception, and so forth, the rhythm that this reality is emitting to your electromagnetic field is creating dissonance. And this at a holographic level. Now imagine this at a cognitive level. You're creating incoherence, and we know how the universe perceives reality. The universe won't stop and think, "Oh, well, poor guys, like they are incubated in a reality. It was not their fault. They're Although they chose it, they're experiencing a human body and so forth." No, the universe will just measure levels of coherence and incoherence or decoherence, and that will dictate the next stage that we will be creating and co-creating as a collective. So now I will be showing some slides, but before that, now, how does this relate with time? As I was saying, imagine, moreover, about the space memory network or the space-time fabric that I have said. Imagine that every day, every single day, has a very specific rhythm. Based on what? Based on planetary and telestial alignments, based on the degree of rotation that the Earth finds itself in relation to the sun, in relation to the moon, in relation to the other planets, as I was mentioning. Hi, John. Oh, this is beautiful. Thank you. I think very much. Yeah, I agree. Tennessee, Kentucky, Bigfoot. So, and I will be mentioning a little bit about this. So, every day is a very specific tone, a very specific frequency that resonates within our DNA. However, if we follow the Gregorian calendar, like as I was saying, like the days shifted and the months, like celebrating the beginning of the year in January. And if we look at the etymology of the months, we will see that March was the first month. So what happened? Even September, septum, sept, the 7th, November, Nov, the 9th, October, Octo, and so forth, So then what kind of incoherence are we creating with our cognitive mind, which also influences a lot the level of manifestation that we are capable to experience and embody? Why? Again, because as vessels, as a holographic vessels, we are emitting incoherence to the universe. Then as much as we say, okay, we will shift this, there will be a subtle frequency that is funneling incoherence through our holographic vessel. So what now? Well, as I always encourage, to perhaps open your universe to the Tzolk'in, which is the Mayan calendar. I'm talking about the original one, and I will explain you why now. Because there are many calendars, and actually even the word calendar, which is calendas, which is the word or the Latin word that they would use to say, to measure the cycles in which the government which would charge for taxes. So, and what's the reality come to? Like a lot of people thinking or feeling that they need to pay to live in this reality. Why? Because it's all programmed. That this is why it's a harvesting control system. So the Tzolk'in and the ninth wave, which is well, the ninth wave is now a system that a dear friend, a quantum physicist of mine, a dear friend of mine, a quantum physicist, Carlos, I will share his data in in the description of this video, he has found a way to how to translate the Mayan calendar into a macrocosmic form of approach at a quantum level. And also, on the other side, like the original construction of time that the Mayans shared with us, which is the Tzolkin, which is the rhythm that is measuring the pulse and the frequency of every day. Just imagine, like the Gregorian calendar, you have a day, it's based on algorithms, it's based on tones, it's very simple. Yes, it requires like a lot of numbers, but it's like the very same date that we use every day, just that it's accurate. Because it began from a countdown thousands of years ago. And this is very important. Based on our relationship to the photonic belt of Alcyon. As we know, we live in a solar system and we are rotating around the sun. Well, as everything comes at scales, there is a bigger sun now. That sun, the name of that sun is Alcyon, and it's located in Pleiades. This is why also so much connection with the Pleiadian community, because they were pointing out to that accurate transition, moving out from that incubation, from that state of incubation, because as I have shared in other videos, when I talk about incubation, it is like as we are as we are in our mother's womb for 9 months. Imagine that as a collective, we have been incubated in a reality until we show we are ready to move forward. And what do determine that? Our level of consciousness. When we are actually embodying and sustaining a fifth density form of perception, and others a seventh density form of perception, constructed and the pillars based on a ninth density form of perception, which is unity. The ninth density is unity. So it's that wholeness. So the pyramids, the circle stones, the underground cities, and so forth, not all of them, I must say, yet the ones that were holding the matrix before the last cataclysm were constructed on the pillars of a ninth and a seventh density. So in order to reach holographically to that, algorithmically to that, it's very important for us to tune into the true time, into the universal time. And by this, I know that perhaps not all of you are into algorithms, into numeric numbers. You're like, what is this? However, you don't need to be. You just need to be aware that time is more important than what you think or thought at some point. Because every number, if it's not in resonance, imagine thorns creating dissonance within our DNA, like fissuring it. And as much as we do energetic work and light work and shadow work and so forth, there is constantly these algorithms that are mismatching. So if you also want to tune into, I will recommend another friend who is amazing with the Tzolkin explaining it, which is a Crispy. And I will also, as I was saying, share his data, because everything moves. Everything moves. And this cyclic system that the Mayan being given by the Pleiadian community, as I was saying, is connected with our relationship towards the photonic belt of Alcyon. And this is what they were talking about 2012, which was actually in 2011, not 2012. 2011. They were talking about a shift of reality because we entered in that year to the photonic belt. And now, and if you also connect this with the Vedic astrology, it's there, it fits. If you connect this with the Chinese, with the Egyptian, they fit. Perhaps they will have other dates, yet the core, the algorithms, and the interstellar and planetary connection that where everything is being configured, it fits. So again, if you're going to check this out about the Mayan Tolkien, I suggest you to connect with the original calendar. Why? Because there is another calendar that has been talked about, or like has been exposed by um, a guy that calls it the dream spell. And that's not accurate at all. And actually, I will show to you now the images of how the DNA is embedded in this system, in this cyclic system, through very specific algorithms. If we see ourselves, if we scan ourselves and see the different layers of our multidimensional body, you would see that one of them, like the core, like the most evolved one, are geometries. Then you would see what we could consider as binary codes, which is precisely the point and the line, which perhaps this is why a lot of people perceive the string theory to be the accurate one, because they are looking or perceiving reality at that scale. If they move forward, then they would see another level of reality. So, well, yeah, everyone is entitled to an opinion. So I will share with you the images now. And okay, so here we go. Okay, so I will show to you first because I posted this today. So you will see this is a video. Okay, I will make it bigger. Oh, but yeah. Let me see. This is like you can have an idea of how our DNA is connected to time. You know, like every one of those cubes are very specific matrices of reality that are embedded in our DNA, in the segments of our DNA through the codons. And I will show you why. So, for instance, here, I think there it goes. I just don't want the full video to show because, as I was saying, I will be sharing it in different clips, and you can also watch it in the recording of the full of the Rise of the Guardians conference. So this is the shape of an octahedron and inside a cube. Why? We know that we have 64 codons, okay? So 64 is a cubic, like if we bring it into cubic units, we will see that it creates what what we would see as they call it the gnomon cube, which are 64 units within a cube. And just to why? If we say that each one of these segments of our DNA are related to our 64 codons, then the possibilities that come from each one of these segments are creating a cube because it's containing the 64. So here we have a cube, and here we have a triangle, which create double triangle, which creates an octahedron. Why? Why would I come up with this? Because the four-stranded construction of our DNA creates a pyramid. And when we mirror this pyramid with our molecular structure of our water, it creates this octahedron. And now, when we start to talk about the tesseract, and the 4D, because we are living in a 4D, this is where all the theories of the holographic reality and that we are a hologram, it's based on the fact that we're experiencing a reality in the 4D coming from a 3D where all the information is stored. So that brought, like the DNA brought into 4D because that's the nature of our DNA, the complexity, the dynamics of our DNA, as I was saying, mainly in its parts like the telomeres. We start to create an octahedron, and the shadow of an octahedron creates an octagon. The shadow of the tesseract creates an octagon. So there you go. Here we have the octahedron that is spinning in our DNA, and even with the latest finding in the pyramids, we could see that it's reflected because the shadow of the two cubes create an octagon. And I'm going to move a little bit forward because, yeah, I talk about this in the, it's weird. Okay. I just want to show you guys something. Um, okay, so now, as I was saying, here we have, imagine behind you have the space-time fabric and moving. And here you will see that here we have the codons, and here we have the nomenclature, the alchemical nomenclature for each one of those codons, the mathematical code, and the transducer coding. This comes from a very specific book, which I must say, I connected with this information before looking at this book of the keys of Enoch. And I also must say that a lot of this information in relation to that we are living in the 4D space and the vacuum and the black hole and the the closed time like cubes and reversal engineering and so forth is information that I have been nourishing through Nassim's Haramein and William Brown's work, because as I was saying, that's the quantum physics ground that I have been giving to my memories, to my own way of tuning into the information. I will go here. I was talking about cymatics, and here you will see just that you see. I think I need to, because here, well, I was this information that I shared in the conference, how the vacuum works within our DNA and how related it is to the cube. Yeah, I will go better through the, okay. Okay, yeah, here it is. Let's go through here. Let's start through here. This one. Okay, so I'm sorry that this is taking long, but a lot of information here, so thank you. I hope that you can see thoroughly to it. If not, I can go here. Let me do this so that you can see it properly. So we're moving here. It's in minute 6:10. Okay, here we are. A little bit here. Yeah, there you go. Okay, I call it the genetic arc. And you will see here that our DNA are octahedrons. You know, it perfectly matches. You see octahedron, 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 octahedron. That's the blueprint of our DNA. Here I put the tree of life completed. And these are the voxels, which is the figures that are embedded in the 3D and where all this information that we are comes from. Here we have the four-stranded DNA, which is embedded perfectly. You might ask, and is the shape, when you do a cross-section, it has the shape of a pyramid. Okay, so this is in relation to what I was explaining also about the pyramids. Okay, so now, here is mainly what I was going to talk about. If you want to know more about what I'm talking about, all this information that I'm sharing, you can stay tuned for the online courses that I will be giving based on this, and other presentations that I will be having the upcoming months, like Full Disclosure Now conference in Florida, the month of July. So here, this you will see all numbers. This is what I'm talking about the Tzolk'in and how it's creating precisely the DNA and how it's connected even with the tree of life of the Kabbalah here. One is closed, the Kabbalah of tree is closed, and the other one is open. So we need both. And you can see how the tree of life is embedded in the cube. Why? Because we are talking about cubic units. We are talking about matrices. We are talking about incubations and the ways that we have to store information at a holographic level from higher forms of perception of reality. So imagine that each one of these days is dictating a very specific frequency and tone that when it reaches these precise algorithms, it's enlightening your DNA. So if we are not tuned into the universal time, then that light is not coming through our DNA because it's being conditioned by a false time. And time, as I was saying, is the heart, is presence. It's the bit, is where we are here. So by the way, this is another, like a device that I designed, but I will be talking about that later. Yeah, so you will see how it's all embedded in the octahedron pyramidal network. The pyramidal network was once connected to our DNA, amplifying the piezoelectric dynamics within our molecular structure of water, within our own DNA, our mitochondrion. The way that it would deliver the DNA in our mitochondria would be way different because it would be amplifying, like the RNA. The process of the RNA was way different at that moment. It was being amplified by the 0 point energy created by the pyramids. So, yeah, I think that's what I wanted to share with you today. So, yeah, if there are any questions, just please say. So mainly what I want to convey through this video, the message that I want to convey through this transmission is that uh, if you want to look for the Mayan calendar, which is actually, as I was saying, the Pleiadian um, inheritance that was given to us to move from dimensions to pass even the Pleiadian one, then you might want to tune into the Tzolk'in. And it's not like we will at once be changing from calendar, because banks work through that calendar, schools, your work, if you are in that system, or so forth. However, integrating the existence of this and acknowledging, okay, today from the Tzolk'in is this day, bam, 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 bam. Okay, so I'm anchoring it in my reality. And then you will start vibrating more and more and more and more, even though you're still partially tuned into the Gregorian calendar. Due to resilience and adaptability, it's not about crashing. It's about transitioning, which is a harmonic way of evolving, transcending instead of colliding, which is also something that we need to move forward, because this will also amplify the capability that you have to create the 0 point energy within your body. Because every time that we are creating endorphins, oxytocin, melatonin, and so forth, we are doing it from a 0 point energy within our body, because it does it inherently. Now, can you imagine amplifying it to its original nature? Then all that pyramidal grid would be, we can tune into the layer of reality, like the holographic frame in which it is embedded, and restore it, reignite it, and then branching into timelines or spatiotemporal constants that are actually profitable to our own evolution. So shifting a reality, it's not passive, it's actually very active. And it requires from your presence, from the presence of all of us who truly want to shift our reality and be the best versions of ourselves. So, and dreaming big, because if we see all the things that perhaps could be limiting, like for instance, now that the discovery of the pyramids have been done, yeah, there are comments that it had been a while since this was discovered. Yes, but it's now that it's coming to the public. So let's focus our energy to create. And this is the thing: if we focus our energy on the things that we don't, and the things that are limiting us, one thing is to be aware of them, yet placing most of our energy in how to shift them in what will lead us to the next step. That is using wisely our energy, as far as my perception goes at this moment. So, and yeah, like, I know that one day we will be collectively shifting that. Why? Because it's necessary. It is. It's time. We're in the 4D. We're talking about time, and time is the thing that connects us all, even though there are differences in the time zone and so forth. Like the calendar, all people is following the same Gregorian calendar. So putting more energy to one that actually is talking about the transition that we are going through now by going through the photonic belt of Alcyon. It was being prepared for this stage. It is in front of us. And it is provable through mathematics, through geometry, through quantum physics, through astronomy. You pick. And it unifies all times. And this is what I have been working on in a very specific cyclic system that unifies all times. A bunch of algorithms every day for more than 888 days now, configuring them and using them for brain tech to map and restore the connection to stars and so forth. But I will be talking about that in another video. So thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you. And yeah, the pyramids activated the RNA. And even if you know how to bend your energy through your plasma body, you can activate your DNA, your RNA as well. Even by going to sleep, you can command that, because that's where most of the memories are anchored. So having said this, thank you very much for your presence. Thank you all, and looking forward to connect in the next transmission. If you're watching this video not in live but later, feel free to comment and to ask questions, and I will be addressing to them. Again, thank you all. HUNUH.